We're back. This is gonna be like a repair channel series to our Netfix YouTube channel. This is my girlfriend's 07 Mazda 3 with a 2-liter. I had a check engine light come on 5 years ago and had to replace the thermostat, which fixed my issue at that time. 5 years later, I have a coolant leak. How I found out I have a coolant leak was when you drive and stop and you're idling, it starts blowing cold out of the heater. And then as soon as you start going again, it starts blowing hot. It keeps doing that. You come out, check the coolant level, and it's just a little bit below the minimum line. I know I have a coolant leak, slow one, so I just visually looked at it between my engine and transmission. It's coming down both sides of the transmission, not actually forming drips because it's evaporating slowly. But anyways, I can see it, so I'm not gonna pressure test the system. Normally, if there's a low coolant, I would pressure test the system to find where that's leaking, but since I know it's leaking from this connector flange, they call it, I'm just going to fix the leak because I can see it. Yeah. First, I'm actually just gonna drain the coolant. If your vehicle's hot, you gotta be careful when you're taking off your radiator cap. You want to just slowly do it and I bought this at Napa. I believe it's actually a Dorman part. They call it a water outlet assembly. This is what it looks like. This big plastic assembly. It's got your temp sensor. It's got 4 hose outlets, and it's got the inlet, or the outlet, I guess, according to this, from your head. This seal is the seal that failed on this engine. So basically you can see the existing assembly. Sits just like that. You got a coolant hose here, another little hose here. I'm not sure whether it's vacuum or coolant, but we'll find out. Another coolant hose down in the bottom corner there, and then to your head. All right, so this is a gem of a tool for removing coolant hoses, at least hose clamps, I should say. When you pull this guy down and release it, you can squeeze clamps, and it's got a ratcheting system in it, right here, in here. So then it'll hold the clamp squeeze, at which point you can wiggle it and slide it back off of the hose or the outlet flange. You can use that. You can also use, if it's an area that's nice and easy to access. I've had great success with, I think these are like slip lock pliers. These are all water pick pliers. So you can access at different angles if you need to hook it from a side. And it just breaks the seal around the hose, which then in turn makes it possible and a lot easier to remove the hose from the barbed fitting. That assembly onto the engine. Okay, so I'm now at the reassembly stage. I have my water outlet assembly mounted to the head. Just gonna go through putting everything back together the opposite way I took it apart. I'm just filled it, and we're gonna run it until the thermostat opens. Hopefully it's just gonna bleed out right now as it warms up. There are many ways to fill cooling systems. Preferably the best way, you can purchase a kit that puts a vacuum on your system, and then you can put the hose into the clean coolant, and when you open the valve, the entire system just sucks all the coolant in, and basically if you do that, you almost guaranteed not to have any air anywhere. But I don't have that kit, so we're just gonna monitor it, make sure that it doesn't start getting too hot. If you rev the engine too, it can circulate the air out, and if it's not blowing cold inside, so you turn the heat on, and it'll be blowing cold, and it's not a lot of times when I just start revving it, and all of a sudden the heat will start coming through. So we're gonna do that right now. If you're waiting on your thermostat to open, two ways to check is when you're watching your temp gauge, you'll see it drop down colder. That it'll open your thermostat, go through your radiator, and you'll drop like 10 degrees. But you can also feel your thermostat hose, whichever one's cold. Once it opens, that hose will be hot. And then you can verify it. Okay, my thermostat's open. I'm not gonna overheat my engine if I go and try and drive it, because she will be cooling. All right, so this is all the tools you really need to do the job. A little lubricant for the seals. I have some dielectric grease, just what I put on the electrical connectors. Electrical tape when I put the plastic around the throttle body, which I got my scraper for cleaning the surface, Scotch Brite pad for doing more of a fine clean, brake clean for cleaning it off, and then here's one hose clamp tool. Pliers can work for another hose clamp tool. This mirror we just used to verify that our hoses were all the way on. T25 to take off the top plate that holds the those two little solenoid valves on there. Two extensions, 8mm, 10mm. This is the setup we used to access all the bolts that hold the assembly onto the engine. And this was for the bracket and for the hose clamps that hold the your intake hose. And then a 19mm to tighten down the temp sensor. Hose water pick just to help remove the hoses. And a good old-fashioned snap-on light, or any light would work. And that's all you're gonna need if you want to tackle this job at home.